Hi, this is Craig Lane with Health Alchemy, getting ready to do another in a series of 3-minute miracles, or we could call them health techniques. And this is going to be a little bit just in blog format because it's so easy to do. Our website's HEALTHALKEMY, healthalchemy.com. And this is another series of free techniques to the public that we often use in programs. And it's part of a larger self-care context. And so this is called, in some traditions, it's called a Bhanda or a lock. In the Western science, it's called Kegels. And I'm going to call it embodiment or rooting therapy, because a lot of people in the modern world are focusing on transcendence, which is the movement of matter into the formless. And then there's the curiosity of the formless, or you could say consciousness or awareness with matter. And one teacher says that movement of matter, non-material into material, is the movement of love. And the movement of matter into transcendence is the movement of wisdom, or learning to walk in emptiness or without identity. So we're doing the first half of that equation, which is called Mula, Bhanda, and the charts and recommendations I give out. But you could call it learning to root your energy down. And the step of this in the Kegel tradition is it's as simple as just locking your urinary organs and your anal sphincter tight. So one way to practice this as a starting first measure, first step, is to just cut off the flow of urine. As you're urinating midstream, just practice cutting it off and fully cutting it off, and that will get you started on this path. Before we go into this step 2, I just want to say the value of doing this is if you have a lot of thoughts and a lot of mind energy, and you're meditating even, or you're out in public and you're kind of spinning out of control, it's a way to bring some feeling down into your pelvis. And the step that comes after somewhat mastery of this after a few months is the microcosmic orbit, or sensing and becoming aware of energy moving around the body, the being. So this is not necessarily woo-woo stuff, because you can see subjective results very quickly. That's why it's called a 3-minute miracle. So the way to start this is, again, pinching off the flow of urine. Another way, if you're sitting at a desk and you just notice, this is a good time to do it, because no one will notice you're doing this therapy, right, is to practice pumping the sphincter. In other words, your anal sphincter, which you can, once you get a little more advanced in this, you can separate the anal sphincter from the vaginal muscles or the penis muscles. But that's a little bit more refined, where you can do the sensations of one sphincter versus the other set of muscles. So to start off with, just worry about clenching the anal sphincter. Do a nice pump 30 times. In other words, like that. And you don't have to worry about your breath. Just pump it. You can be sitting at a desk, in your car, whatever, and do 3 rounds of 30. You could push it up to over 100 pumps if you want. And just note your edge, where it starts to feel tired, where it starts to feel like you lose consciousness or awareness of it, and your mind will drift off. And keep it around what's a stretch, but not so much as you feel uncomfortable. Once you get familiar with pumping for a few weeks, after you're able to cut off the flow of urine, keep practicing the urine cutoff and keep practicing the pumps. A value for men in this is you learn how to do semen retention so that you can separate ejaculation from orgasm. There's a great, great value in this, in that you can become more conscious about what is orgasm and what is ejaculation. Orgasm and ejaculation typically come together, but a man can also, like a woman, be multi-orgasmic. He becomes aware of the subtleties of the process, and then you can be more conscious in the process, right? And you'll save a lot of energy if you're not, every time you have sex or masturbating, if you're ejaculating, if you can find some satisfaction in the climax, or the climax of the orgasm, you might say, because orgasm is the whole experience according to some people's definition, which I like at one taste. And so the final part is to learn to hold the sphincter closed for anywhere from 3 to 4 to 10 breaths. And what I like to do is I start with an in-breath, bringing the mind down to the pelvis, and the out-breath is a release back up to the top. And so you can imagine pulling energy down to the pelvis, and on the exhale, um, with the sphincter still clenched, releasing it up to the top. And so you have this contained bhanda, if you will, down in the lower body. And a lot of other people that feel more like I have a lot of top heavy or mind energy, so I like to breathe it down on the in breath. But some people on the in breath, they breathe their pelvis energy up into their head, and then out breath, let it fall down. And you hold the sphincter closed at least for 3 of those breaths, and you work your way up till you'll notice there'll be like a sort of a clenching sensation. You'll notice there may be like a muscle that's overworked. You'll start to get tired. So again, you push and stretch this for a few weeks until you feel absolutely comfortable. When you're comfortable about 5 to 7 breaths, which is typically for most people at least a minute or two, then you've mastered it, can go to the next level. And that's where we'll go into the part 2 of this, is the microcosmic orbit. And as it's put in Taoism by Mantak Chia and Maniwan Chia and other people in that tradition, I'm going to loosely just call them energy flows, because I don't want to steal their thunder. Nor infringe upon what they're talking about. But it is basically the same thing as becoming aware of energies. And in today's world, I don't think we need somebody to tell us the way things are, because we all have different experiences of energy. So my name is Craig Lane again with Health Alchemy, and this is another in the 3-minute miracles health techniques. That the value of this one is, again, bringing mind energy down into the body, embodiment, and also the value of learning to bhanda, using a bhanda or a lock to keep the sexual energy from leaking out in the lower body, lower energy centers that are referred to as chakras, which I won't go into, but it's a way to keep that energy. So there's a lot of value in doing this, and it seems very simple. And as my spiritual teacher once said, sometimes we tend to bypass the most simple things as valuable, when I know this works after doing it for more than 20 years. And you can always contact our office, make an appointment. But again, this is Craig Lane with Health Alchemy. Hoping you have a wonderful day. And to all my subscribers out there and followers, yeah, look forward to meeting some of you at some point. Namaste.